Hey guys, just finished watching Young Justice, Season 3, Episode 3, Imminent Threat. So I just had some time, so I figured I'd watch one of these shows. But like I said, I'm not going to be watching these as regular. I'll just watch them whenever I have the time to watch them. I'm not going to be a regular basis, just whenever, kind of randomly watching this show. So let's get into this. We've got a few points here for this episode. We start off the episode with the Stargirl show, and I like that. We're starting off with some obscure things. We're starting off with like shows within the show. I kind of like that, how we did that in the last episode with Gar. I think that was kind of interesting there. And here we have to see Stargirl. She has this kind of like, she has like almost this not reality show, but like an Entertainment Weekly, E.T. Canada type thing. Kind of show, and I think it's interesting. I like that it's, they casted Whitney Moore as the voice for Stargirl. I think that's kind of interesting. Just if you've been watching SourceFed on YouTube, right here on YouTube, she was on that, and now she's working for TC, and they got her to do a voice for that. So I think that's going to be interesting to see that, and I think that's kind of fun seeing the YouTube celebrities like that, just kind of people from YouTube going and getting and moving on, following their career. I think that's kind of fun with that. But I think it's interesting her like Stargirl having a show within this show, and if that's kind of a hint or a tease as to what the Stargirl show is going to be about. I think that could be kind of interesting to see if it has some sort of similarities. Is that going to be, could this little snippet that we see where she's kind of talking about celebrities and celebrity dating life and all that stuff, celebrity gossip. I think that could be an interesting idea, as if that's what she does for her show. Maybe that's her day job for when she's not Stargirl. She's hosting this stuff. I don't know. I'd see it being called Stargirl, unless she has, unless her identity is completely out there. Doesn't make sense, but or in this case, she might not actually have powers, and she just may be, the Stargirl, like the girl who knows everything about all the stars. Any celebrity out there, she knows everything about them, all the gossip about them, right? I think that could be an interesting idea. And she takes the Stargirl name and turns it into a superhero name. I think that could be quite cool. But then it just seems a bit on the nose, that even if she did do that, she didn't have powers with the name. The show had the name before she got her powers, which I don't know anything about Stargirl at all. So definitely need to look into her and look her up a bit more. But I think that could be an interesting idea to do that. But it seems also a bit on the nose to do that. So don't know. So we see Beast Boy has like a Star Trek show type thing called Space Trek 3016. So that's kind of interesting, kind of cool, fun thing there. We see. In this episode, we pick up from last episode where we see Brion has went through the metagene activation thing and stuff. I think that's kind of interesting because it ended with it like kind of like stuff kind of rising, but we didn't know if it was going to pick up the next episode with kind of, he's almost about to get his metagene, and then someone comes in and breaks him out and stops the process. But he went through the whole thing. I think that's kind of interesting. And then when he goes through the whole thing, we see his uncle tries to frame him for when some of the Titans try to help him escape and stuff. So he ends up taking the footage and using it to try and frame him for working as a terrorist and stuff. So I think that's interesting. And you see Brion's powers end up activating. He has some sort of like lava type powers and stuff, and he has some sort of like molten stuff that's on him, but it's unclear if that's able to come off. So that'd be cool to see, as if he has what kind of powers he has and stuff, because there's not too many characters on this that are kind of, other than Gar, Logan, and like, let's say Megan, but even they can kind of change. But Beast Boy's the only one who's like permanently green, and his powers are, there's not too many characters who like they all can hide and have secret identities, because their powers are not always on. Like someone like, if you go look at the Marvel like X-Men characters like Beast and Nightcrawler and Gar, Logan, their powers are not able to turn off. So I think that would be something interesting for Brion to see how that would kind of affect him, and if he's able to kind of control his powers, but having more people with powers who, they can't. It's very difficult for them to hide that, because they can't just walk out in public, because he has all these scales and all this rock and stuff that's permanently on him. I think that could be an interesting idea, playing with that. And we see Halo, so the girl that Artemis had saved last episode, she was being buried alive, right? She's burnt to death and stuff, and Black Lightning sees that. He's kind of getting traumatized with PTSD, and I kind of like this whole storyline with Black Lightning, and PTSD, and I think it's really going to be cool to see as to how things are going with that, and I think it's really going to be quite interesting to see as to where things kind of with going, especially since we're dealing a lot with right now with Dick Grayson and his secret team and stuff and Black Lightning. I think it'd be cool to follow Black Lightning in bits and pieces here and there, where, you know, he tries to leave this life away, but he's watching the news and he keeps seeing that the Justice League and the Young Justice, I'm going to call them Teen Titans, let's say, because they don't know what else to call them. They don't give themselves a name. But we see the Justice League is kind of stopped by, by policies and government and the UN not letting him do this and taking too long to make decisions, and him being like, you know, he has to go and help Dick Grayson, who's, you know, doing a side mission not for the Justice League, and he has to do that because the Justice League is just taking too long to do stuff with bureaucracy getting in the way. And I think that could be something fun to play with Black Lightning, him feeling like he has to do it because they're not going to do it because they won't break the rules, right? I think he has to break the rules to be able to do that. I think that would be kind of fun playing with that. And then also seeing them teaming up here and there with the Batman Inc. could be something fun to see that. And then we were get a reveal that, and seeing how Halo died, like when she was burnt and stuff, I was like, oh wow. And then we later on see her all cut up and stuff. And I think that's really interesting. I really like that because this show is a bit on that edge where it's like somewhat kind of violent and stuff, but not violent at the same time. So I think that's kind of interesting with that. Like there were some points where we saw Vertigo, he was just using his powers on the Doctor and stuff. I can't forget the Doctor's name, whatever the female's doctor's name is. And it was interesting how he was just using it on her. She was like crippling on the ground, like, you know, in pain and stuff. And it brought her to her knees. And I was wondering, like, why isn't she like throwing up blood, you know, her nose running or something a little bit like that? I think that would have been interesting to see. Just, it would make more sense that someone, if he's, you know, using these powers and giving his victims intense vertigo feeling when they feel like dizzy and vomiting and, you know, and even maybe with like blood running out of their nose. Obviously it's a cartoon, they're not going to have too much, but a little drop of blood or something to show that, you know, it's really powerful. Little drops out of the ears or something, or even just throwing up. I think it would have been an interesting touch just to kind of give it that a little bit more realistic touch, and that like he's really hurting her. He's not just giving her, you know, a headache where she wouldn't be able, you know, making her look like after being attacked like that and having, you know, his stuff like continuously. If he stood there for a minute and just blasted her, he'd probably be able to, you know, or for like 5 minutes, he'd probably be able to kill her or something like that. I think that'd be cool to see that, to see him, how powerful his stuff is and get a bit more of a range to that. Is, you know, for a regular person, regular human, if he just stood there for 10 minutes, how long would it take for him to kill someone with his powers, you know? I think that'd be really cool to watch that. And to see that in action. And we don't have to actually see it. They can, you know, cut away with it to keep it kind of PG, whatever the rating is for this show. But I think that could be an interesting idea in dealing with those more just making it a little bit more realistic could be interesting for this show. And I think it could be quite fun to watch this. Then we see that Halo is alive, so that was kind of interesting. I guess she has super healing factors. It's kind of cool. And then there was this fight when it was revealed that when Brian goes and tries to fight his uncle and stuff, Superboy's trying to save all the civilians around, and someone's recording him on her phone, and you see that his face is blurred via his tech and stuff. So I think that was a little cool part, and I didn't really notice it because I was able to pause the video right and watch it, and I was like, oh, what? And then I rewind it a few seconds, and then saw that. I was like, oh, pretty cool. I think it's really cool little touches like that kind of I like to show them, make it, you know, a little bit more. They just you know, it makes it a little bit more, you know, a kid show. Most kid show would not have something like that, and this is not so much of a kid show. It's a little bit more complex themes, and having little touches like that is really interesting, because for a kid they don't really need to think of that because he has a mask on. You don't need to blur out his face, but you know, you do need to blur out his face because he's Superboy. People would automatically recognize him as Superman or Superboy and all that stuff. So I think that was kind of interesting, and I kind of like how they had that little touch in there that you blink if you miss it moment, but if you notice it, it's kind of cool, and I really like that touch there. And that's why I like to see a little bit more on that line, is if they had the Doctor kind of vomiting when she was attacked by Vertigo. I think that would have made a little bit more interesting to see kind of a range of how powerful his powers are for Vertigo, or his I'm not sure if it's his powers or if it's that headband that he keeps wearing, but that's kind of interesting there. We see Brian is eventually banished by his brother because he's a metahuman now. So that's kind of interesting. And then we see at the end of the episode, we see Black Lightning. He's been kind of fighting this creature, the same creature type thing that he fought in their first episode over on the other planet with the Justice League. And then he ended up accidentally killed the girl. He ends up kind of destroying the chip and finding out that it's kind of the girl's brother, and and all that stuff. And then the monster is just kind of killed by a random fisherman, who's just scared and stuff, thinks he's just a monster. So I think that was a really interesting idea. I think that was kind of cool. I like how that's kind of going to affect, Black Lightning and how things are going to go with that. I think it's kind of interesting playing with those themes that are, a little bit more adult than a kid's show. So I think that's really cool, and I can't wait to see as to where things go with that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Where do you think things are going? And like I said, I'll be reviewing this show periodically whenever I have the free time to do it. It won't be, it won't be for sure. So I don't know when I'll be able to watch the next show, but subscribe, and you never know. I'll definitely be watching all the live action shows. Try to watch those every week. And this show I try to watch whenever I have time. If I happen to have off or something, some days I watch an extra show here and there. So you never know when I might watch another one of this show, but we'll be watching it sometime in the future. So let me know what you think, guys, in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.